Okay, people, focus. So this is a tutorial video for the thing we were doing today about shading. So we were creating a material using the texture maps, okay? And I am gonna do this in this tutorial, okay? So you can all follow along and see how this process is about, okay? So the story is this, basically. I am gonna do everything from scratch, from downloading the folder, okay? So you go here in our 3D modeling, folder, and there is tutorials, assets, shading lesson, and you download it like this. So give it a moment, because it takes some time. Come on. Yeah, so when this is done, it's downloaded, and we can then move on, okay? I will create a slide presentation. Actually, I have already created it. I need to, refine it and make it available, okay? And then we look at it together before. So once it's downloaded, you're gonna see in this icon, the download icon, this thing, shading lesson, and then this weird number. So I just drag and drop it in the desktop, okay? We work in the desktop. And I close this, I don't need it now, okay? So, the story is this one, okay? This is a zip folder, there is a zip, okay? And you cannot work from here, you need to unzip it. So the way I unzip it is double click on it, and then you see the real deal. This is the story, okay? So I like to, again, double click on it, and this move, I don't know why, I double click on it, and I see the content, and I, get the content here. So this is what we need, not this, okay? I delete it so we avoid any confusion, and let's check these things together, okay? So these are basically the maps, and I apologize because in the shading lesson, and this is the folder structure that you should use in your projects if you want to do texture in this, standard workflow, because you need to keep things organized. Otherwise, you are going to lose everything. Anyway, I apologize because in the source images there is the, rusty metal, and this is called albedo, and that's maybe could make some confusion. Albedo is like to say color, okay? So when you see this, base color is basically this thing, okay? Albedo is base color, is just another term for it, okay? But it's the same thing, so don't get worried about it. So before I jump in Maya, because this is all about Maya, let's check this folder structure, okay? 2 folders. Let's go with the first one. Scenes, it's where you have the Maya file saved when you do your work, and you save it, and that's this thing here, okay? Then this is .maya, is something that Maya creates automatically for some reason, I don't know why, but leave it there, it doesn't make any difference, just leave it, okay? If you delete it and you open Maya and you save it, maybe it will generate again automatically, so don't worry about this, okay? It's there because the software works like this. So this is the scenes, and then the source images. So the source images is an important folder because here you have all your texture. So if you have different materials in your scene, you will have a lot of folders with the texture map for that material. That's the way you work, tidy and organized. So the rusty metal is going to be the folder that contains the rusty metal texture. If you have a wood material, you will have another folder called, now don't create it, you have another folder called wood, and inside of it you have the texture for the wood, okay? So for now we work on this one, but I want to say something before we jump into Maya, okay? I want to open Photoshop and I want to do File, Scripts, Load File into Stack. I want to show you something. You don't need to do this in Photoshop, okay? This is just to show you. And I do Browse and I open Source Images, all the maps, all together, okay? We see what these maps are about, okay, in Photoshop. So I'm gonna, with my own words that probably are not the best to begin with, but we are, seeing this, how they look like, because texture at the end are images. We remember that are square images. 1. This is 4K in this case, 4000 pixels, but this is the same as this, square. That doesn't mean that if you make it rectangle and you bring it into Maya, it won't work. The material will look weird, but it will still work. It's not that it needs to be square, otherwise Maya won't ingest it. It will still work, although this is good practice to work in this format, okay? And all the texture, almost all the texture and all the materials you're gonna find online, and I'm gonna show you where to find them. They're gonna be like this, square. So, again, here, 4 texture map. The first one is color, albedo in this case, but don't worry, it's color. And you can see it's basically the color of the rust and the color of the metal. That's it. Because this is like a rusty metal surface, isn't it? Then the metallic. Let's see the metallic. See? The metallic is basically where the metal is in that material and where is not. So this works like a mask in Photoshop. We all know masks. I'm gonna explain it maybe, but mask basically it's a way to hide and show something. In this case it's the same, because the metal is the white and the non-metal is the black. So in fact, if we show the color, you see that the rust is here, isn't it? Take a look. And the rust is not metal, it's not like a shiny metal, It's very rough and, not very reflective. So the metalness is linked to the color map. So that's the point I was making before in class when I was saying that this texture, this set of unique texture for this rusty metal material, it's gonna just work in one material. You cannot, take another texture and bring it here and use it as a color and keep using this one, because Maya is still gonna show you the union of this texture with the material, and you're gonna still see something. It's not Maya saying, no, I don't like this. No, Maya won't know that, but it's not gonna work because all these textures are basically, they're generated from the same kind of source. So they all kind of have the same, I don't know how, let me put it in another word. So you see the rust is here, then, the metalness is telling where the metal is and where it's not. So you see the metal is here in this case, so you see that the white of the metallic is here, not here. Because a positive value is white, and in this case it will show the metal and it will hide the metal here where it's black. Okay, it's like a mask in Photoshop, same thing. So if I take another random metal and I bring it in, probably these two will not match. That's what I'm saying. If it's like, let's say there is another rust metal material somewhere and I switch the texture between them, I take the color from that other material here and I remove this one, the color are gonna still be similar, so the rust is gonna be like around this color and the metal like this, but it's gonna be shuffled in different positions. So it's not gonna line up with the, metallic texture. So all these texture maps, they come together, they are unique, and they will work in the material cohesively. You cannot really change that, otherwise it's not going to be the same optimized and good looking result. Okay, so all of these are basically coming from the same place. And this is the normal map. Okay, let's go one by one. Okay, so we check the albedo color map, we check the metalness, then there is the roughness, and this is basically telling how the light reacts when it hits the surface of the geometry you apply the material, okay? And that's the roughness. And then the normal map is basically an illusion. We talk about it together, and we are gonna explain it again later in future occasion. It's basically telling where the material is super rough and when it's less rough. So you can already see here, let me remove view, pixel grid. So take a look at here. So you see that basically here is very, like, looks flat, looks very polished. While here you can see there is some kind of situation going on. So let's get out the albedo map, okay? You see, basically here the normal map is very, uneven, right, where the rust is starting. So it means that, this area is gonna, look very bumpy and very uneven, while this, which is the metal that didn't get corroded from the rust, is in the material, so it's more, less bumpy, it's more, polished. So that's the story. They all work together. So this is a unique set of 4 textures that works together to display this. Okay, so this is not the same material, okay, it's another one, but that's the story. So this is going to apply also for these 4 textures, okay, although we don't see them here. Also this, here we have the flat representation. Here is just showing you those textures applied to the object, and they're just isolating these 4 textures here in 3D, not in a flat preview, okay? But imagine that basically the base color, it will be like this, flat, as a texture map, okay? So all of this, they work together to create a final result. So let's jump into Maya and do this situation, okay? So again, this is the folder structure. We have the folder in the desktop. I have Maya open, blank scene, nothing really going on. And I do File, Open Scene. I go Desktop, Shading Lesson, Scenes, and then Shading Lesson. Save, don't save. So that's what you get. Basically now, that's the scene, okay? Before, earlier we went through it. It's just a sphere. It's just a sphere with the limbo. And the limbo is like to take a photography, okay? When you in a photography studio, they will have a limbo to make, photography or anything. Also the green screen room, where I actually am in right now, it's a kind of limbo because there is no corner here. It's like round, so it's like this also in CGI. So to create a soft transition on the back, you don't, because it's not nice to see a sharp corner. So that's the scene, okay? Let's break it down on the outliner from the start. So first thing, we have the 4 default cameras, okay? And the perspective view, you see the name here, is the one I'm using to look around here. But there is one more camera here, and it's this one. See the perspective? The render camera. So I created it in my I created it from scratch, and I position it the way I wanted, and then I lock it. To lock it, I did like this. I selected all of this, and then I did lock selected, okay? Because I don't want to be able to move it. This camera needs to stay there all the time. And because when I do a render, I like to create a camera just for the render. We are gonna see it together, if you want, later, how to create a camera, but don't worry for now. It's just a camera that I'm using for the render. It has the same attributes of the other cameras. But I want to navigate my scene with the perspective view and see, what I'm doing, and render from one point of view, which is the point of view of this camera that I created. So now we have done the sphere, is just a sphere. Then the limbo is this kind of thing, looks like this. And then we have 2 new things here with the yellow icon. These are lights. So directional light is a light that shoots from the sky, and it's, basically is the closest light that mimic the sunlight. This would be a sunlight. If you have a scene, a CG scene that is like an open kind of environment, and it's very sunny, you will create this light because it's similar to the sun. Like the shadow that are created from this light are very defined. So if it's shooting from here, probably the shadow will be like this. Will be, a very, very, very sharp shadow. But it's not about the shadow. We are going to do shadows later. But this is a light that, it's, similar to the light of the sun. Then there is another one. This is AI sky dome light. Basically, the sky dome is a spherical light that is basically a picture. It's basically a light that is all over, and it's very diffuse. It's used in CG so you can have realistic lighting, okay? And the HDRI is basically a spherical image. Let's see if I can open it in Photoshop. It looks like this, so now it's super crazy. I don't know if I can really... It's not easy to show, isn't it? But it's basically, this. It's a panoramic photo of this outdoor place. And they did it in a special way using special cameras, and they created this kind of image that is an EXR. This is a special format that we're going to learn in the future, but has some special properties. And you can use it as a light inside of a CG softwares. So what that image is just a light, and we use it to make some better looking lighting. So one thing I forgot to do before, and I apologize, is to plug in the, to relink it, because when you download it the way I show you, you're gonna have my path, you see? So in this case it works because I have this login here, and it's gonna be the same for any computer because there is my name. But when you download that folder and you use it in your own machine, you're gonna have that path. So you will need to relink it. And let's say you are someone else here, like you are, I don't know, MacGyver, but there is Francesco here. So you will go, I need to relink it. So I open the folder, I go to the desktop, that's where I have my shading lesson folder. I go here, and I go source images, hangar exterior cloudy EXR, that's the image. Probably here you can see it better. Before in Photoshop had a weird preview. But that's the thing, okay? Then you need to just double click and bam! You should have an updated, now it will say MacGyver instead of my name, okay? And that will work. So I'm gonna do it again. If you are in a situation where your HDRI is not working, you select the HDRI from the outliner, then you see the color, and then you go over this kind of thing, you click on it and you see another fancy window where you have a path, a string of text, which is a path, okay? Image name. You select the folder and you look for your, wherever you have your HDRI image in this case. And it's the same thing with the textures at the end, we will see. But yeah, in this case we need to plug in the HDRI again. So you double click on it and then it's plugged in. And please, I hope you will all use, if you want to do some material work, this setup. So you have the name of the project, then you double click, and then you have two folders. Scenes, where you have the Maya scene, and then the source images, where you have all your texture, okay? So, now, let's take a look at how this look like in a render, because we broke down the scene. Now, if you press space, and I think by now you all know that, you can preview different things. So now I already have this set up, but if you are in a situation like this, that you have the perspective view, and the top, front, and side, you can basically do panel in any of the view that you want. I like to have the perspective in one and the render come in another, because I don't think we will use the top view much this time, and even the others, but the top one probably less than ever. So I just need to go to the view I don't care much about for now, and I do panels, perspective, render cam. So I got the render cam in this, and I can, see what's happening in the other one. So let's shoot a render, shall we? I go here and I press space to maximize this viewport. I don't like to be able to select the limbo, so I create a layer with the selection and I double click. So now I cannot select it anymore. Now we do Arnold, open Arnold render view. I make it smaller, and this is the render view. There are a few options here. We don't need to worry too much about it. One option that is important is this, because this is where you can tell Arnold to do the render from. And it will do it on the perspective cameras, the cameras that not the top or the side. You won't find top and side here. You find the 3D camera. So here I'm already on render cam shape. Don't worry about shape, it's just a naming convention, but it's render cam. So if you are in perspective shape by default, you just switch it to render cam shape. And now there is this red button that, of course, if you hit it, is gonna render. It's gonna activate the camera and show you what the camera is looking at, okay? So let's do it. Bam, that's what you have, a sphere, okay? And the light, as you see, let me pause. With this one, you pause the render, and it's good habit because Arnold keep going, the software keep going, and it might be buggy. Another thing I wanted to mention is Arnold is a render engine that ships with Maya. So there are different render engines that do, basically the same things. They have different features probably, but in the end, the result is that you render out your 3D shots that can have material or not, but they work the same way, okay? But in this case, we use Arnold because it's the one that comes with Maya, okay? But there are others. Anyway, I've got my render, and we talked about Arnold. So to do the render, you need to go to Arnold, open Arnold render view, and you got this window. You shoot, bam, render, and you see what you are meant to see, okay? So if I pause it and I keep it this on the side, and I go to this and I press spacebar, and I want in this time and for now to focus on the on the story here in the perspective view, because you see this is the camera that is looking at the sphere, and then we have the light that is coming from the top right, and you can see here in fact that is more there is this kind of shiny that is more here because the light is coming from up right, isn't it? And here is more dark because the light is hitting this side of the sphere. And we are going to study how light works in a later chapter, okay? But for now, just leave it like this. Default is fine. So that's it. So now let's do some. Let's create our first material in using Arnold. So let's minimize this for now, and to create a material to work and do shading, which is a fancy term. That means basically creating material using texture and node graphs. That is what we are going to do in a simple way today. You're going to do that with the hypershade. So to go to the hypershade is this icon here. It's like not this one with X, this one. Is like this kind of sphere with a hole inside. And if you click on it, you find this window. So this is a default Maya scene. So you're going to have this by default. It's not something you can, remove. These are there, leave them there, it's fine. They don't do anything. They're just the standard materials that you can find. So when you work in Arnold, you need to use an Arnold material because Maya has different, material you can choose from. We played around a bit with the Lambert material. That is probably this one. But the Lambert is in Maya. And it still works in Arnold, but is less powerful. You have less options. So the one that is better to do this kind of work with the textures is the Arnold material. So we need to create our first Arnold material. So I press Tab. If you press Tab, you got something appearing. It's this, kind of space where you can type some text. And it's going to stay there. Even if you click out, it's going to stay there. To hide it, you need to press Tab again. So here, I'm going to create the first ARNOLD materials, which is called AI standard surface, okay? And let's leave it like this for now, okay? Let's leave the name, okay? Because you can rename it. Earlier I did change the name right away, but let's keep it like this for now. And now the material is selected. So there are a few things to consider. So this one is the default one. Actually, don't worry about this one. This is the Lambert, the standard one. Ignore it, it's fine. This is the ARNOLD material, the AI standard surface. And you see this, there is another node that you say, what is this? Don't worry about this. Don't worry, okay? We're going to explain what this is later, but you really don't have to really mind this. It's fine. So we focus on this one, okay? So now that we created a material, in Maya, we need to apply the material to our geometry to make it look, like this material, okay? This is an empty material, okay? The textures are not here. So it's a standard, material, naked. There is nothing, okay? So it's the standard, the basic one you start with. So, first thing first, in my render view, I want to make a screenshot so I can keep this render and I can see the changes that happens along my modification of the material. So we can, keep track of what's happening. So, as I was saying before, to apply a material to our sphere, we need to, do something. What? We need to first select our sphere. And then we have our hypershade showing, and you can select the sphere from here or from the outliner. So we have the hypershade showing and the material that we created. The sphere is selected. We go over the material and we do right click, assign material to view per selection. I'm gonna do it again. You go to the material you created and you do right click, assign material to view per selection. You need to do right click here, I think, in the first part, because here it already doesn't work in this kind of rectangle kind of thing. Right click, assign material to view per selection, and now you can see in the attribute editor that you have the material on the list, on the sphere. Good. So let's see how this material is looking like, okay? So I got my first iteration. This was a Lambert, if you remember, the standard Lambert. Now let's see how the standard surface, the AI standard surface looks like. But first I want to save, Control Shift S, because I want to save my progress, and of course it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So File, Save Scene As, and I go to Desktop, Shading Lesson, Scene, and here you see Maya binary. That's why you don't see anything, because you got binary. Maybe. I don't like binary, I prefer to work in ASCII. So you see MA, not MB. MA. So Maya ASCII again, and I save it. Save, yes. Now let's check it out, shall we? Let me just do something first, because I actually have something to do with Andrew. I need to. Andrew Guyver or MacGyver. Okay, good. So let's check it out, shall we? Let's run the render. What a story. It looks like an egg, like a round egg. So that's the difference between the Lambert. The Lambert is very, kind of flat, very, But good when you do modeling work, you don't want to get too distracted, isn't it? Because you want to see the shape. But, it doesn't have a lot of surface property. The standard surface, the ARNOLD standard surface, is already, kind of cheeky, isn't it? It has some nice, story going on. Some nice reflection. We can see something. So let's break this material, shall we? So I've got this material, AI standard surface, and I'll call it test for now. ARNOLD material test underscore SHD. So this is the. Sorry if everything is very all together. Actually, let's do ARNOLD test. Okay, SHD, underscore SHD. That stands for shader, okay? This is industry practice, okay? They do like this. They don't rename things stupidly, okay? Name of the material, this is ARNOLD test, SHD, shader, good. And also you can see that it's updated, in fact, in the attribute editor, ARNOLD test shader. You can see now the properties of the ARNOLD standard surface, isn't it? So there are a few properties, a lot of properties, but don't worry, okay? We're gonna focus on just some of them now, because I don't want to go into already the texture work. I want to do first a breakdown of the standard surface in an easy way. I'm not gonna break down everything because, I mean, first, I don't think I can. I'm not sure what they are. And you're not really going to use them so much because they probably going to be helpful in very, 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 very complex materials, okay? But in this case, we work easy, right? So let's check it out. So you can access the properties of the ARNOLD material or any material either from the hypershade, and you see they are the same, you see? Either on the hypershade here or from here. So let's do it from here, okay? It's a bit easier, but they are also here, okay? In the hypershade window. So let me minimize the hypershade and open up the story here. So we got base, color. So weight is basically the amount of the strength of this, okay? It's a bit confusing, but it's not something you're gonna use very often. But let's see if we play around with that. Let's save a screen grab. This is the default one that ships when you create it. So let's get the weight down. Let's see what's happened. Become black. What the story, huh? What is this? It's black. If you take the weight down, this color becomes, black for some reason. Let's save a screen grab. Let's go mid values. Gray. Let's save a screen grab. So you see, basically we have gone, let me pause this for a second, let me maximize. So we have gone from here to black when I took the weight down all over here, and then to mid gray when I took the weight around mid of this bar. So let's bring it back, refresh it, and you are gonna now see that it's actually back to the first thing. So that's weight. Let's see the color. So the color, if you go the way down, and actually this is something a bit weird about the weight, it looks like it's the same thing, because it's gonna be black, it's gonna be the same. If you click, you can visualize the screenshot, like let's go back to the Lambert, and you can visualize all of them. So if you see this blue outline, it means you have selected the screenshot. If you click again on it, you deselect it and you're seeing the current situation. So if nothing of here that you can find here is highlighted in blue, means that you're seeing the actual render, okay? Color is this. So let's bring all the way to white, and it's white now, okay? Let's see if I press this one. We got a fancy window. So let's say that we can change the color here. Let's go with a nice blue, cheeky blue. But you see, now this blue doesn't change. Why? Because saturation and value are still at, their initial place, which is 0 and 1. So we need to, start to move also these ones to create, some sort of effects. And take a look. This is already showing some colors. And we need to go through HSV in a later session because it's very, very important. Hue, saturation, and value. I think we did some color theory together, but probably you forgot. No, I don't say you forgot, but it's probably some time ago already. We need to refresh it. But for now, don't worry. This is just, a color place where you can do different colors, see? Fancy. Super easy. So, and that's the color. Let's bring it back to normal, okay? This is the white color. Effect is, again, 0, 1, white. Then we got diffuse roughness. So now this one, I like to skip it because I think it doesn't really make much sense. I think it's a bit weird, to be honest. It's a strange attribute. Let me pause this because it was still going. But let's still use it. Let's get the diffuse roughness all the way. and let's hit render. What's happening? So you see, I mean, I think, yeah, I think it's weird. It's just because diffuse, again, is another way to say color. I'm sorry, this is a bit confusing, but yeah, just don't worry too much, because you're not going to use the diffuse roughness that much, to be honest, okay? Then let's go, we have a specular tab. So this was the base tab, then we have the specular tab, okay? So the specular tab, it has to do with how the light reacts on the surface. So specular, let's get the weight down to 0 and see what's happening. So you see you don't have any specular attribute anymore. That nice highlights disappeared. See what's happening here? If I got the weight down to 0, you don't see it anymore. Then the color, let's see what happened if I change the color of the specular. And of course I need to play around with this. Strange, I think nothing really happens. It's so weird. It's a very weird, attribute. So you see some of them are, it's not that they are not useful, because they're probably something for materials that are very advanced, but don't worry for the weight. This is the specular color, yeah. And you see nothing changes. It doesn't become this color, this small highlight. It doesn't, so. Specular roughness, this is an important one, guys. Is basically determines how rough the surface is. So if I take it all the way to 0, it's gonna be super, super shiny. Take a look. This thing became like, I don't know. It looks like super polished. And if I take it all the way up, it's going to be super rough, isn't it? See? It looks like, I don't know, some sort of stone kind of thing. Then I am skipping this one, guys, okay? Don't worry about these ones for now. If you want to do some research on these ones, there is on the Autodesk website, they explain all of this very well. But I'm going to skip this for now, okay? Then we got transmission. And transmission is basically how transparent something is. So it's a property of the glass. So I take it all the way like this, and you see already even in the viewport this is becoming transparent. But we're not going to see it here because the background is very flat. But this, take a look from here, became transparent like a glass. Transmission. It's becoming like a glass. See? Became like a bubble kind of thing. And if I get the roughness back, see, now it looks like a glass thing. Fancy, isn't it? That's transmission. And there are a lot of parameters here, don't worry, okay? And then there is the bump mapping, and it's basically the normal, okay? Bump is like normal. It's a different word for it, but we're gonna see when we plug the material what this is, okay? But don't worry for now. I think basically this kind of showcase a bit the main features very broadly about, the ARNOLD material. You can play around with the settings and make really weird situations, okay? And now I'm going to show you how to plug in the texture to create the material in, this way, okay? So let's do this. I save this. Ctrl-Shift-S if it works. This works now. Save. Nice. And I want, now where is my sphere? Here. Okay, cool. So the sphere is transparent because it's glass, of course. Let's now, go to the hypershade again in the icon we all know here, this one. And you see again, when you do some changes on the ARNOLD material, you can see some, viewport display, okay? So this is the glass we created. So let's create a new tab in the hypershade, okay? Just to stay organized and tidy. I create a new tab. Okay, people, sorry. I had to make a cut on the video, but don't panic, because we are here, okay? And the last thing I did was creating a new tab, a new hypershade tab, and you do it by clicking on the plus icon here, okay? And here is when we start, doing some shading, okay? Sorry, so this is recorded a different day, but it's essentially the same thing. All the things that I said in the video so far are all good. So before we jump in, to create the shader, I wanted to introduce something still related to the shader. So before we do some material work right away, I wanted to show you the preset that you have available. Okay, so if you press tab to create in fact the shader, you need then to write AI standard surface, and this is the material we're going to work with most of the time. Okay, you rename it, and I will call it in this case test _shd, and I will select in this case my sphere, and I go over the test. You see with my sphere selected, and you see highlighted in the outliner, and you right click assign material to view per selection. So for those of you who lost yourself, the way you create the material is to do tab AI standard, and you choose the AI standard surface. This is the material, okay? But I have it here and is renamed test. So what I wanted to show you here, and let's check if it's with the test material. Yes, test shader. What I wanted to show you here is that the possibility to choose some presets. Okay, so before we do the shading with the texture, you can see how you can play with the basic material without plugging in texture, which might be helpful for you sometimes. So I want to have my Arnold render view selected. Okay, so I'm gonna do Arnold, open Arnold render view. And you remember I dock it on the side of my hypershade here, and you see this blue line highlighting. And then if now I maximize the hypershade, I should in fact have both windows showing. And I don't like this create one, so I will close it for now, okay? Because I want to have the space. So the preset. So let me first save, because it's a good habit to save always. And see, it goes back to binary. I go to ASCII and I see my ASCII file. Save as, and I've got my test shader basic Arnold material. Let's run a render and see how it looks like. Yeah, it looks like this. Okay, so let me get a screenshot to record the progress. I pause it so it doesn't run in the background. So the presets are found here. So basically you need to go to the hypershade, or even here I think you can find in the attribute editor and the property editor are basically the same thing. When you select things in the hypershade, you can find the properties of material. The properties of the material either here or here. It's the same thing. But in this case I work just with the hypershade and the render view. Okay. So let's have a look. Let's choose one of the preset. So see, if you go on preset, you got a list. And in the list there are these names, and if you go over one, it's expand in a few options. Forget all these things, just do replace. Okay, so I will choose I don't know, clay. Let's try clay, replace, and it looks like this, red. It doesn't really look like clay, but you see these presets are a bit dodgy sometimes. But let's look it in a render view. So I shoot my render, and here you go, it looks like this. Okay, let's save it and see and compare it. See, it's different. There are some different properties. Let's try another one. I go to, again, still the same material, preset, and I go with gold, replace. See how it looks like. The render was already doing in the background because I didn't pause. And we see the gold that looks like this. So you see there are way many options to choose from. If I use my arrows, I can see my renders. So you see from the basic standard surface to, the clay and the gold. But okay, now it's time for us to create some proper shading with the texture. Okay, so let's do this now. Let's forget about the preset for now. You can play and explore. Just remember, do replace, not blend 90%. That's stupid. But just replace it from here, replace, and you're gonna see the different materials. And it can be an easy way to add some nice looking, materials to your models. And the preset don't need the UVs, okay? But what we're gonna do with the texture, because that is image-based shading, we need UVs, okay? And we have it for the sphere, in this case, the standard UV, okay? That wasn't very difficult for us. We just created the sphere. Well, I created it for this demonstration, but don't worry, you don't need to worry on the UVs on this, you know, setup here, okay? But when you have your models, you will have to do the UVs in order to use, you know, the process that is gonna be the following, okay? So let's do this. I created another tab to, you know, to make sure we are all cool. Okay, guys, sorry again, I had to cut because now we are gonna really do the real shading workflow, okay? For, you know, the material that are based on texture maps. So my hypershade looks fancy, isn't it? It's different. Let me just, I want you guys to see the same thing. So yeah, that's it. So if I open it now, you should see, where is it? Yeah, I think it should be like this. So the shading, okay, let's do this now. We start with the standard surface, yeah, AI standard. So what you need to do is type either AI standard, and you have it here, but even if you type standard, the hypershade will give you a few options, and you can go AI standard, but just remember AI at the beginning, okay? AI standard surface. Let's do the rust, okay? Let's do the rust texture. So, well, the metal rust. So I call it metal rusty, SHD capital, commit to it by pressing enter. We have, you know, the empty material. We need to import the texture, yeah? So I'm working with our setup that we learned how to set up our, you know, project in Maya, and I have it in the desktop, the, you know, the good story, okay? The folder with the proper setup, and you know, again, shading lesson, scenes where I have the Maya files, and the source images where I have my texture and my HDRI. So you see the TX file is the automatic, you don't need to ignore it, TX file, ignore it, okay? And also in the texture, also here, sorry, in the scenes, there is Maya's watches, that's not a problem, that doesn't really make any difference, don't ignore it, okay? Remember these things, I don't want you guys to get confused. Source images, there are the TX file as well, here, ignore them, okay? What we are concerned about is the JPEGs. Actually, I should have deleted them before, but, you know, just ignore the TX file, and the rusty metal, TX, yeah. Okay, this, don't worry, is the TIFF, the important one on the rusty metal, okay? So let's do it. I got my hypershade open here, and I want to get my folder here with the rusty metal, isn't it? And I switch to preview here, and I can see what we are dealing with. So you see the TX file looks, you know, empty because I don't know, but the one that are important are these ones. So the base color, the metallic, the normal, and the roughness. So what's happening? Sorry. Okay, so the base color, metallic, normal, and roughness, you select them, and you bring them in like this. Bam. I maximize it, select everything, and push this button here so it rearrange the nodes, and let's see what do we have. Here there are our texture, okay? And this is the node on the back. We will learn what is that, but don't worry for now, don't consider it. This is one texture, okay? The image, the base color, okay? This thing here. So let's plug it, okay? I select my shader, and the shader gives you a few attributes. You can expand them and see what's happening. You start with the base, and we want to plug the color, the base color, to the color. So I go here with my shader selected, keeping, you know, knowing where I want to, input the base color to, and that's the thing. So select the material, middle mouse drag the base color to the color, middle mouse drag the base color to the color, and now you see this. Now let's keep going, okay? Let's do things in order. The metallic come before the roughness, so I move them like this, and I select my material, and I move down to metalness, metallic, metalness, middle mouse click, spam, and something's happening. But remember the metalness, color space, utility, raw, alpha is luminance, and I need to do the same with the roughness. So let's select the material again, and we need to go down to specular, because the base holds the color and the metalness, but the specular has to do with the roughness. So I see specular roughness, and here there is the roughness attribute, middle mouse click, roughness. See? And the preview show you something. But again, remember, we need to change the color space and tick alpha is luminance. Utility, raw, alpha is luminance. Normal map. Okay, here we are dancing. I'll be honest, in the lesson I show you something like do like this with the geometry and do middle mouse click on the bump mapping. No, that's not the way. I mean, it still gives you a result that can be okay, but the proper workflow is this. You need to tab, tab, and type AI normal map. That's the story, okay? And the normal map, you need to have this, okay? You have the normal map here, the normal map node, the AI normal map node, the texture here, and the material here, and basically this is telling to the shader that this is the normal map, and is giving instruction to the material on how to read the information of the normal map. So this is I would say is a downstream flow. So we got the texture that feeds information to the shader, and the shader will then do its magic during render time. But the information are here and they flow inside, okay? So this is a sort of information, and this is a way to interpret that information that is specific, okay? So let's do it. AI normal map, color to input, out value, normal camera, okay? So in this case, no middle mouse drag to the attribute, okay? It's a manual thing that you need to, remember and do. Then, last step, you select the normal map and you go to utility raw. The normal map needs to be raw, okay? But not alpha is luminance, only raw. Now, we need to apply the material to our sphere, okay? Because the sphere is with the standard Lambert, remember? So, I select the sphere, and I have it selected, and you can see in the outliner is there, and then I go to the metal rusty here shader that we just created, and I go right click, assign material to view per selection. And let's see now render time, okay? So I minimize the hypershade because I want to keep it, and you will know why now, because it's not finished. And I want to save now, so I do File, Save Scene As, and I go to the desktop, Shading Lesson, Scenes, and I save it here, okay? It always work like this. And Maya ASCII, remember. Maya gives you, probably by default is binary, is not good, ASCII, okay? I mean, it's still gonna work, but let's get used to ASCII, okay? Maya ASCII, save. Yes, good. So now, Arnold, open Arnold render view. I've got some stuff from before. Let's forget about it, okay? And render camera shape, here you can choose the camera. Render camera shape, let's maximize it and see what's going on. I press start, And here is our material showing in the viewport, okay? So what I want to say about the normal map is this, is that before we were doing that workflow with the bump mapping thing, that's not the correct way, okay? This is, let me just get the hypershade now. Let's dock it. I don't want to see this for now. Wait a second. This, I don't like it. Ah, what the? Come on. Okay. So, this is the standard procedure. This is the protocol. This is better than before, okay? And I will tell you probably maybe more in lesson because I need to go at some point, but the normal map is more advanced than a bump map, okay? So the result you have with this way is better. The bump map is, when they started doing CGI material, the bump map was the first texture that will give those surface detail. But then when time evolved and they made more improvement in CGI, they created a normal map that has the same effect, but better, okay? So for now, just remember this. Normal map is a bit more high quality than the bump map, okay? So let's see what's happening. So this is fresh, okay? A normal map, default, by default. I want to remove this thing here. Let's start fresh. I save a snapshot here. And let's see what do we have. This is the story, okay? Let's make a render region here because I think that is the interesting part. And let's see the normal map. Also, remember, if you press this, you can isolate different selection in the hypershade. So if you run it, you should, and it doesn't work. Oh, sorry, here. You should see what the different nodes are doing. So this one, it doesn't work, but it works on the texture. So the normal map is like this. So I think it's a bit hard to see here, but for example, the roughness is a bit easier, you see? The roughness is this, then the metallic is this, see? In fact, here is the metal, and that's the rust. The rust is black, the metallic is white, because that's where the metal is, isn't it? And the base color, So you can isolate it. If you want to go back to the full material, you just do like this, okay? So, let's see the normal map. I've got my screen grab to see the progress. I go to the normal map and I want to bump the strength. So let's do 4 and press OK. Let's see what's happening. I think it's finishing now. I pause it and I save. Let's see the difference. Let's go close. So see, it's not very visible, but 1 to 4, already something's happening. You see a bit more detail. So let's crank it. Let's push this guy, okay? Let's try 8. We save it, and let's, 1, 4, let's see 8. 8 with this specific, material gives us this result, which is actually quite okay. Is okay, is nice. Take a look at the difference, 4. And take a look from 1. See? Here you can really see the detail. You see, guys? This is good stuff. This is good stuff. Nice. But I think the best way to really make this more visible is actually try another point of view. So if you have this setup created, that's good. That's enough. But so just follow me for now. Don't do this. Let's change the render camera to the perspective. And I want to save. File, save scene as. Desktop, shading lesson, scenes, this one, save. Good. So let's run it, okay? You don't see anything? Yeah, this is the story. Okay, so because I am here with the perspective. So let's see what we have. Let's go closer to the sphere because I really want to show you a better angle to see, you know, what the normal map is doing. So, no, it crashed. Sorry, I need to relaunch the scene. File, open scene, desktop, shading lesson. Yeah, this one. Okay, cool. So let me go with the perspective in the right angle. So I want to do this. I want to see it from here. Now, let's get Arnold back. Open Arnold render view. And now let's see. Okay, see, this is quite nice, isn't it? Let's do another thing now. Let's, get my outliner. I selected the directional light, and I want to go to the attribute editor of the directional light and go to the Arnold tab and play with the exposure. I want to add 1. Okay, let's actually save. This is a good habit to do. Save a snapshot of the progress. This is a new view. Take a look, it's very nice actually. I like what it's doing here. The normal map really gives a lot of good details to our material. It's very important. So, get the exposure to 1. Let's see what's happening. Maybe it's a bit too much. Yeah, maybe it's a bit too much. Let's get 0.5. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit more visible. But yeah, that's the thing. You see what the normal map is doing. Now I want to make another thing. I want to show you one thing. So I save. See how many nice details the normal map gives. This also the bump map does something similar, but not good looking like this. Not as good. Okay. So please keep in mind that that's important to use using this workflow. Okay. I save another one. See, before the light was a bit less strong, now it's a bit stronger, and I want to take now the normal map to 0 to see the difference. It will refresh. Let's do a render region to focus only on this part, so it's quicker to render. It doesn't go here. We're not looking here or here. Okay. So you see, it's okay. I mean, you can still say that this is metal and rust, but I don't know, it feels like a bit flat, isn't it? So if we take a look at the difference before, and after, to see what the normal map is doing, is this. Take a look. See? It just creates unevenness on the surface, but it's an illusion, okay? It's not real geometry. Is just an illusion, and works very well in this material because you can really see, the result. Another thing I want to show you is probably this is a bit, I think. Let me just minimize this. This is a bit, dangerous in this computer because they're not so good. I mean, they're not super great. Let me save. I want to save. Save desktop, shading lesson, source images, rusty metal, and no rusty metal, sorry. Scenes, shading lesson. Save. I want to first, before I run the render, because I really want to see that bump, the normal. So I go back with 8, and now what I will do is I will do a file, window. Where is it? Okay. I think it's run IPR. No. Wait, where is it? 3D manipulation. Yeah, this one is 3D manipulation. Let's see. This is cool. I can basically move my camera based on the Arnold preview. So I really want to see what's happening here. Take a look. So when you go very close, probably it's a bit too pushed. The bump up probably 8 is a bit too much. But when you go far, a bit more far, it actually look good. So when you are very far, if you want to, see the little details, you probably want to, crank the strength of the normal map. Also because the normal map allows you to play with the strength in a better way, because you have it here. With the bump map, I think it was a bit 0.1, 0.05. It was a bit weird. So let's save a screen grab and uncheck this. So we see what we have. See? Super nice. So that's the normal map and how, is plugged correctly in the shader. And this works, this is basically the standard setup for, creating the material. Okay, guys? All the other material works the same way. So this is the protocol. The only thing is that the normal map, the strength will depend by the lighting you have in your shot, or how close you are with the camera angle, and all these kind of things. And also the different materials, maybe wood or stone, they are a bit different. So you need to tweak it the way it looks better in the shot. And that's it. That's it. Okay, guys? So I will go now, and please try yourself with your materials. There are materials in the drive. I created a folder. I actually moved from tutorials. There was asset. I prefer to have asset here, and although some of them are related to the tutorial, like the Neko or other things, we have inside the asset CG materials, and here there are a few, and as I collect them I will add them. Okay, so you can grab them. But that's pretty much it for shading. Please practice. It's not like a super complex thing to set up. It takes 2 minutes, and then you should make a good result to your materials. Okay, so yeah, have a good day, and I will see you around. Okay.